years seem to go on, feeling lost and ashamed. I'm in chains, but soon to be wrong. I had no hope to live on, feeling lost and ashamed. I'm in chains, but soon to be wrong. Your love is for all beyond the fall.
G'day, I'm Roland Hearn, and this is a walk in the garden. Today, I am at Brisbane's New Farm Park. I was at a meeting on the south side of Brisbane, and on my return journey to the north, I decided to stop on the south side of the river and catch a ferry across the New Farm Park. Originally, I thought I would go up to the botanical gardens and do some filming up there. But I stopped off here at New Farm, and I thought, well, I'm going to do this in two pieces. So I'm going to do this week. I think I'll come back either next week or sometime in the future and ride the ferry again up to the botanical gardens. It's a really fun trip. So that's what I'm doing. There have been people living in this part of the world for more than 40,000 years. The Turrbal people is the name that was given to the Aboriginal peoples of the greater Brisbane area. And they called this part where I'm sitting Binkenbar. It's called New Farm now, since the Europeans renamed it. But there is a suburb right down on the mouth of the Brisbane River called Pinkenbar. But this area here was known by the Aboriginal people as Binkenbar, and that meant the place of the land tortoise. So that was representative of how much they used the river for their livelihood. All the fishing and clams and all of their sustenance came out of that beautiful river. It's often accused of being a dirty river, and there was a time where it was highly polluted. It probably still has some pollution in it, but the fact is it's a muddy bottomed bracken river, and so it looks brown all the time, but it still winds through the city of Brisbane and sets up a beautiful context in which the city has been developed. So from the very beginning of the Walk in the Garden series, I have made no secret of the fact that I'm a Christian and I have a Christian perspective on the world. In fact, that is a big piece of the Walk in the Garden. I have wanted to try and show how love is a construct that is persistently true no matter what perspective you come at. But I do want to try and very deliberately link those ideas back into the faith that I hold very strongly. For those of you that don't share my faith perspective, I hope that you won't find this video too tedious. It's not designed to try and convince you of anything, as you'll see by what I'm about to say next. But it is an attempt to try and place what I have been saying in the broader context of my faith perspective. And so actually what I'm going to try and do is the next three videos, or at least three videos, whether or not they'll be the next three, but three videos, I want to explore the idea of the connection between what I've been saying about love and worth and about my faith. This video I want to talk about what is faith, and then I want to look at this idea of sin. If you know anything at all about the Christian perspective of the world, you probably know something about a Christian perspective of the idea of sin. but I want to look at that and see what's actually there. And then I thought I would wrap this three set video series up on the ideas of faith, hope, and love, and see how those three things mix together to create a way of processing life that is, in fact, the walk in the garden. So, what is faith? I can deal with this pretty quickly today. What is faith? Well, if you say to somebody you have faith in them, doesn't have a lot to do with your mental assent to their existence or even to the ingredients of their existence. To say you have faith in somebody means that you trust the way that they relate to you. That's actually what faith in God means. A lot of people, in fact, most of our life, and I have encountered this perspective, and I would think that probably it's the pervasive perspective amongst Christians. Believe that the idea of faith is that you believe in God, and that means you hold on to certain cognitive constructs. Let me say this. To have faith doesn't mean that you abandon rational ideas. In fact, I think it was Søren Kierkegaard that talked about the leap of faith, and he talked about leaping from the rational to the super rational. That faith in God was not irrational, it was just at a different level of rationality. And that's what I found to be true. A genuine faith in God isn't irrational. It's consistent. It needs to be consistent. And if it is irrational and if it's inconsistent, then it's not a healthy perspective on God. But ultimately, faith isn't about being convinced by the facts. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I am very, very aware that there is not one single idea that I hold about God that somebody couldn't say, this can be explained by that. I think altogether those ideas are pervasive for me, but it isn't the cognitions that gives me a reason to have faith. There was a time when that was certainly true, and I've explored enough of the cognitional idea to know A, that there isn't a sound reason not to believe in God, and B, cognitions alone are terribly unsatisfying. So here's that idea of faith again. It is faith in the character, in the person, in the other. It is a confidence that the way that the other lives towards you is true and consistent and right and honest. And that is what faith in God means. It's coming to accept the reality of God as love, and then having confidence that if God is love, then he would act in certain ways, up to and including revealing his character through the life of Jesus Christ. And we could go into that story significantly and help unpack how Jesus shows us the character of God. But ultimately, it's this consistent revelation of the character of God that brings us to faith. And so the end result of that kind of faith is a confidence built not on cognitions but upon this idea that love actually changes me. That as I allow God's love to work in my life, he actually changes me. That there is a pervasive reality to his love that embraces me, and I am being transformed by that reality. Not by anything I do, not by anything I bring to the table, not by any brilliance on my part, but as I rest in that love, I am changed. I'm a better person today than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Certainly, I'm a lot better person than I know myself to be without that quality of love. And it is that persistent and consistent journey that enables me the confidence in the character of God. So ultimately, for a person starting out on the road of faith, I would say settle into that relationship. Allow that to touch your life. Allow that to shape you. And as you do that, the reality of God's love and grace becomes overwhelming and pervasive. And his love begins to transform our lives. And all of us carry brokenness, but it is amazing to me how that God's love moves to that place of brokenness and brings healing. So faith is not about believing a series of facts. Let the facts lie to one side. They're interesting if you want to explore them, but faith is not about the facts. Faith is about the relationship. It's about openness. It's about vulnerability to the presence of God, and God in God's self reveals God's self to us in ever increasing measures. So that may not be satisfying for a person that wants to deal with things cognitively. I don't know how else to express it. Can I prove God? Not really. I can't prove that God doesn't exist. I know lots of people that tried, they haven't succeeded. I can't prove that God exists, but I do know that I'm a better person because of my relationship with God and His grace at work in my life. So, join me next week. We'll take that next step as we walk together in the garden. See you then.